One of the themes this year really has been the level of competition that we're at in this series. Does that make the third time around sweeter?
It's very difficult to kind of compare the three. It's like when they asked after the 500 to compare each of those. I do believe the competition level in the series is going up. For whatever reason, we in Team Target, both Scott and myself, didn't have maybe the speed advantage we had last year. In some cases, we had to work a lot harder to sort of finish in the top 5 at races. So we to come away from with a championship after a season like that is very satisfying. When we look back to Iowa, I think to that gearbox failure, that took a lot of points away. And from then on, it was a real struggle. But nobody in the Target team gave up, and we just did their best every single week. And we find ourselves here again tonight. It's pretty cool. It's great to be out there and just enjoying that feeling and that moment, I guess, with my family, my friends, my team. It doesn't get any better than that.
We'll go ahead and open it for questions.
Dario, in watching at certain points of the race, was the car reasonably consistent through the race? It seemed that early on, guys could catch you coming out of 1 and 2, and then your car would hook up back in the other end. And were you struggling with that, or did it come to you or go away?
Well, I think the car was very strong all night. It's generally with these cars, when you get a draft, it's easier to kind of stay close. But then as the tires wore, I felt my car was maybe better than some. Maybe at the start of our run, it wasn't quite as quick. But I really felt we, maybe along with Scott and probably Tony, were the 3 cars that were going to fight it out tonight. And I knew Scott was very much working with me. And Tony was going to do everything he could to help me out, but I knew that it came to the situation we're going to fight out for the win. Those guys are going to be pushing very, very hard. Obviously, particularly Tony, because he's driving for another team. You could see we were racing very, very hard tonight, and I didn't want to win it doing what we did there, which was actually the points race after Will had his problem. But the guys were just extra cautious, didn't want me running out of fuel, so took an extra pit stop, put me back in the pack, and amongst all the madness. So we had a car, as I say, we could run up front all night. But when they told me after that, those last 30 laps, like, look, you got to finish 10th, you're 9th, and then I passed one guy, I went, okay, now you're 8th. So there was no, it'd be nice to try and fight our way back to the front again, but we wanted to win the big prize tonight.
Kurt.
Far left side here. Talk about your immediate reaction to the news that Will had his problem.
My immediate reaction was, okay, how bad is it? What is this going to mean? And then I immediately put it out of my head, you can't think about that. I said, leading up to this race, I'm not going to think about what he's doing. So I immediately put that out of my head. And the guys came on eventually, so he's behind the wall. And then I came back to the radio and said, is he still behind the wall? I said, yeah. And that gave me some idea of what was going on. And then shortly after that, they told me what the position I had to finish. Then I was more trying to keep out of trouble. The 18 car spun and hit the wall 2 feet in front of me. That was a little too close for me. That's maybe the downside to getting back in the track there, but we couldn't afford to run out of fuel. I had to make a splash on the green at the end. It wasn't a gamble worth taking.
John.
You kind of touched on it there, but you mentioned being put back in the madness. I mean, can you just talk about the split-second thought going through your mind when that notorious 18 car lost it right in front of you?
I just thought, immediately thought, oh shit. Then I tried to pull the car down off the wall, and I heard the noise when the car hit the wall. It was a big old hit. My plan there was waiting for them to kind of get single file a little bit, and then start working my way forward if I could, because they were 4 wide, wheel banging, all kinds of crazy stuff. It was a pretty interesting view back there. It was much more fun up front.
questions? Paul?
Some young guy in Scotland is going to look up to you like you looked up to Jimmy Clark now with 3 IndyCar titles and 2 Indianapolis 500 titles. That's a pretty big piece of hardware to carry around. So what are your thoughts about that?
It's a good haul, isn't it? I don't know. You look back to the start of 2007, I hadn't won a championship, won a lot of races, but not a championship or an Indy 500, and now we find ourselves with 2 500s and 3 championships. I'm just going to enjoy it. I think I'm just going to let it sink in, enjoy it, and maybe asking that question start next year, and maybe I'll give you a better answer. But I'm very proud of the achievement. You know, it's an absolute honour to get to drive for the target team, and the, you know, and the equipment they give me, and that feeling of success is great.
Kurt?
Can you talk about the fine line between you missing Milka and Will sliding into the wall? You both have almost parallel seasons in different respects, but one thing goes differently in the race.
I think I was lifting at that point because I was aware that there was just a lot of craziness in front of me, so I was nowhere near the limit, which allowed me to avoid the accident. And that was I think maybe the difference.
And empathy for
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's Will has been a terrific competitor all season. You know, it's his first season back from the back injury, and he did a great job all season long, and was a great competitor. And him and Team Penske are going to come back looking stronger next year. So we at Team Target are going to have to push harder if we want to beat him. But yeah, he's a very good driver.
Will?
Dario, Mike said the other day on the conference that when Will got that big lead over the summer, that there was not to the driver specifically, but on the team there was a lot of freaking out, I think was the phrase that he used. I mean, was there ever any sense of, or did you always think you were going to get to this point? Was there ever any sense of, that's 60 points is too much, or whatever?
I at no point did I freak out. I was very aware that I might not win the championship, but there was no point in freaking out about it. It was the situation we found ourselves in. That was it, and I just looked at it as an obstacle and to see if we could catch him again. And if we couldn't, then he was going to win the championship. But we just gave our best effort, and we saw the result today. And I think everybody in the team is just kind of buckled down. Every single person. And I'll tell you one thing tonight: it's a lot easier out here when you've got Scott Dixon backing you up than it is racing against him for a championship. It was a lot more comfortable because he is tough at that.
Mary?
Dario, Chip visited us yesterday, early afternoon, and talked to us in the media about how his team was laid back and the drivers were laid back. Could you talk a little bit about, how much pressure you're under? I mean, it doesn't seem to bother you. That's the impression I get.
Mary, I'm at a stage that the pressure I'm under is self-imposed. I'm under pressure because I want to win and I want to be successful and I want to do a good job for my team. So that's where the pressure comes from. And I can see that every person in the team puts himself under the same pressure to succeed, including Chip. He takes it very personally when he doesn't win. So that's maybe some of the reason that we find ourselves in these situations. I don't know.